For this week, we're going to talk about proper disposal of hazardous materials or hazardous waste. So, kasama dito yung mga medical waste. So, you have several or 4 basic waste disposal techniques. So, yung pinaka-common na pwedeng gawin is just simply flush down the drain. So, binubuhos lang siya mismo sa sink. Pwede yun. So, ginagawa lang to sa mga materials that are not harmful to the pipes. Yung mga material na hindi pwedeng mag-cause ng damage sa piping ng water system natin. And also yung mga hindi siya masyadong infectious. Example dito, yung mga urine, di ba? Urine from the patient. Pwede siyang i-boost na lang directly sa sink. Pwede yun. Or yung mga acid that have been neutralized. Hindi kasi basa-basa nagtatapon ng acids kailangan i-neutralize muna siya into neutral pH. Kapag neutralized na, pwede mo na siyang ilagay down the drain. Pwede naman. Pwede rin ng incineration. Kapag incineration, ito yung you're burning the material, di ba? So, incineration, pwede siya sa mga material that are actually combustible. So, yung mga madali lang i-burn, tulad ng mga infected cloth, pwede, burning siya or incineration. Or, pwede rin yung mga animal carcasses pagdating sa mga research. Those are examples. And also, landfill burial. Kapag landfill burial, usually ito yung mga material na hindi siya pwede sa incineration, hindi rin siya pwede na mag-flush down the drain. Ito yung mga highly reactive na material na hindi mo siya pwedeng sunugin. Okay? Hindi mo rin siya pwedeng basta na lang ilagay sa tubig kasi yung kanyang reactivity napakataas. And also, recycling. Ito yung pinaka-last method. So, ano ba yung mga different types of waste? First is the chemical waste. So, for the chemical waste, again, sabi ko nga kanina, some of them can be flushed down the drain. Pwede mo siyang i-buhos lang sa lababo or sa sink. So, especially those that are water-soluble substances. So, pwede yun. Mag-dilute ka lang ng water para mabawasan yung kanyang strength or yung kanyang reaction. And then, kapag neutralize na yung pH niya, pwede mo na siyang ilagay or i-buhos doon sa sink. So, sabi dito, strong acids or bases should be neutralized before disposal. Huwag niyo kakalimutan na mag-neutralize. So, dapat pH niya is nasa 7.0 na. Pwede mo na siyang ibuhos down the sink. So, yung mga foul-smelling chemicals na yan, such as the sodium azide, yun ang pinaka-common na example, should never be flushed down the drain. Bakit? So, besides sa mga toxic fumes that are being emitted, so sometimes, when you mix them with those materials sa mga pipes natin, pwede siya mag-cause ng explosion. Kasi may mga piping na metal So, kapag na-mix siya sa metal, pwede sumabog siya. Okay? So, bawal siya. So, yun ang reason kaya hindi basta-basta nagbubuhos ng mga chemicals sa lababo. Okay? Yung mga ibang chemicals naman, masyadong corrosive, so pwede siyang mag-cause ng pagkasira ng mga plastic na pipes, pwede rin yun, or yung mga metal na piping. Other liquid waste, including flammable solvents. Yan. Kapag mga flammable, hindi siya basta-basta na lang binubuhos. So, dapat nakalagay siya sa mga container niya. Okay? So, dapat nakalagay siya sa container niya, specific only for flammable solvent. So, the flammable material can also be burned, especially sa incinerators. Yung mga burning niyan or incineration, ginagawa lang to sa mga material na stable ball. It means hindi sila sasabog. Kasi may mga material na kapag ilagyan mo pa ng fire, baka sumabog. Okay? So, yung mga non-highly reactive material that are actually combustible, pwede mo siyang ilagay sa incinerator. Pwede rin yun. So, flammable material can also be burned, especially sa incinerator, with afterburners and scrubbers to remove toxic products of combustion. So, also, before disposal, hazardous substances that are explosive, such as peroxides and carcinogens, should be transformed to less hazardous form whenever feasible. So, pwede ka rin na mag-add ng other chemicals that can actually make the chemical less hazardous. So, ginagawa rin yun bago mag-dispose. And also, solid chemical waste that are unsuitable for incineration can be buried. So, hindi ikaw ang mismong naghuhukay, di ba? So, hindi kayo ang maghuhukay para mag-bury ng mga material, lalo nang hindi yung mga maintenance staff nyo. So, sino yung gumagawa ng mga burial na yan? For waste. So, ang ginagawa, ang policy sa Philippines is that yung mga medical waste na yan, kinukuha yan ng isang accredited company for waste disposal. Meron talagang ganon. Sa Pampanga, ang common is yung safe waste. Yun ang company sa Pampanga na kumukuha ng mga infectious waste sa mga hospitals dyan sa Pampanga. So, sa safe waste, pupunta siya, and then kinukuha niya yung mga waste na makukuha from the different hospital or laboratories, and then sila na bahala mag-dispose nun. So, yung mga burial, sila rin ang gumagawa. Again, na hindi kayo ang maghuhukay ng lupa, lalo na hindi yung mga janitor maghuhukay ng lupa. Okay? It is actually the company na licensed by the government, usually galing sa DNR yung licensure na yan. And then, yun, kailangan accredited sila ng DOH para mag-dispose ng mga materials. So, hindi yan basta-basta tinatapon ng kung sino lang. Okay? So, again, yung for burial, ito yung mga material na hindi siya possible for incineration and hindi rin possible for other ways of disposal. So, last resort na yung burial na yan. Now, for the radioactive waste, so the manner and of use and disposal of isotopes is regulated by the NRC. So, in the Philippines, you have the National Regulatory Commission. So, you also have the DNR here. Okay, and then you also have here the PNRI. Yung PNRI, that stands for the Philippine Nuclear Research Institute. They're the one who currently manages waste through centralized treatment and storage facilities on site. So pagdating sa mga nuclear waste, radioactive waste, ang responsible dyan is the PNRI or the Philippine Nuclear Research Institute. However, in each hospital, dapat meron kayong radiation safety officer. So, yung radiation safety officer na yun, siya yung in charge to coordinate with the government sa mga radioactive waste that will be disposed. And also, siya rin yung responsible pagdating sa management ng mga radioactive waste na yun in the hospital. Okay, so meron talagang taong in charge pagdating sa mga waste management ng radioactive waste sa mga hospital. Ang tawag doon ay Radiation Safety Officer. Now, for the biohazardous waste naman, so dito na papasok yung mga medical waste. So when you say medical waste, this is defined as special waste from healthcare facilities and is further defined as solid waste that, if improperly treated or handled, may transmit infectious disease. So example of that is animal waste, bulk blood and blood products, microbiologic waste, pathologic waste, and sharps. So maraming methods on how to dispose this one. So example of that is incineration, steam sterilization, na ginagawa natin sa mga bacteria. So yung mga bacteria na yan, mga microorganism na infectious, hindi yan tinatapon sa basurahan. Okay? So ang proper disposal niyan is autoclaving, wherein yun nilalagay mo siya sa loob ng autoclave machine, tapos yung machine na yun na autoclave, naglalabas siya ng mataas na steam. So yung pressure niya ng steam, napakalakas ng pressure, kaya namamatay yung mga microorganism. Okay? Regarding steam sterilization or autoclaving, pag-aaralan niya yan and further, pagdating nyo ng second year sa bacteriology. So ganun lang, meron siyang machine, ang tawag is autoclave. Tapos sa autoclave niya, merong mataas na pressure ng steam, napakainit. So sobrang init ng steam, namamatay yung mga bacteria. Burial, pwede rin. Thermal inactivation, chemical disinfection, or encapsulation. So yung thermal inactivation na yan, anong pinaka-simple na example dyan? Drying of the glassware sa oven. Ginagawa natin yan sa laboratory. So, yung mga glassware na yan na may mga infectious waste na ginamit, pwede mo siyang ilagay sa oven and then initin mo siya for 2 hours at 150 degrees Celsius. Mamamatay na yung mga microorganism na nandyan. So, yun ang example of thermal inactivation. Okay? Chemical disinfection as well, syempre, by using disinfectants. Yung mga, for example, meron kang spill, may natapon na spill sa table. So, kukuha ka ng Clorox na ilalagay mo sa isang basahan and then mapatong mo yung basahan na yun doon sa spill para ma-disinfect yung spill. Okay, yun ang example of chemical disinfection. or encapsulation as well in a solid matrix. So, meron tayong policy. All generator of medical waste must implement the following procedure. Employers of healthcare worker must establish and implement infectious waste program. So, when you say infectious waste program, dapat yung mismong institution, meron sila mga policy on how to dispose and properly handle those infectious waste. So, yung mga policy na yon, merong kopya sa bawat offices, sa laboratory natin sa bawat section, merong kopya ng policy, and then nakapost din yan sa mga dingding, sa pader ng mga laboratory natin. Kung ano ba yung mga proper way of disposal. Maraming signages lagi dyan. So, all biomedical waste should be placed in a bag marked with the biohazard symbol. So, again, yung biohazard symbol natin, like what you can see on the picture, meron tayo dito na sharps container. Ito yung collector natin for needle. And then meron siya nakalagay na sticker dyan na nandyan yung biohazard symbol. Okay? And then you're going to place that in a leak-proof container that is puncture-resistant and equipped with a solid, tight-fitting lid. So example dyan ng leak-proof container with a puncture-resistant is this one on the picture. Ito yung tinatawag natin na sharps container. Okay? So meron siyang tight-fitting lid. Kaya kapag nilagay mo dyan yung mga sharps, hindi yan tatapon. All container must be clearly marked with the word biohazard or its symbol. As you can see on the picture, that is an example. So lahat ng mga sharps such as needle, blades, glass object should be placed into special puncture-resistant container, just like what you can see on the picture, before placing them inside the bag and container. So itong container na yan, nilalagayan din yan sa plastic bag. Okay, for disposal sa mga trash bag natin. But make sure naka-mark siya as biohazard or infectious. Okay? So, needle should not be transported, recapped, bent, or broken by hand. So, meron tayo mga sharps collector like this one na diretso mo na siya nilalagay dyan. Hindi mo na kailangan pa mga recap or broken by hand. So, all biomedical waste must be disposed according to one of the recommended procedures. So, paano naman yung mga highly pathogenic waste? First, they must undergo preliminary treatment on-site. Kapag highly pathogenic waste or you say preliminary treatment on-site, ibig sabihin noon sa lab pa lang pinapatay mo na yung microorganism. So, paano mo patayin yung microorganism? So, pwede ka maglagay ng chemical sa microorganism na yon. Pwede mo siya lagyan ng disinfectant or yung pinaka-simple is autoclaving. Diba? So, yung test tube na may mga bacteria, nilalagay siya sa autoclave. Tapos yung autoclave, napakataas ng heat, napakataas ng steam. Yung pressure ng steam niya sobrang taas, sobrang init, kaya namamatay yung mga microorganism. Or, pwede rin naman, yung tinatawag natin na incineration, as what you can see on the picture, meron tayong machine for incineration. Pwede. Now, potentially, biohazardous material, such as blood products and contaminated laboratory waste, cannot be directly discarded. So, lahat ng mga contaminated combustible waste can be incinerated, as what you can see on the picture. So, pwede ka mag-incinerate ng mga contaminated ng blood or blood products. Now, contaminated non-combustible waste naman, such as the glassware, should be autoclaved before being discarded. Special attention should be given to discarding of syringes, needles, and broken glass that could inflict accidental cut or punctures. Sabi ko nga kanina, kapag sharps, basta lahat na may sharp, dapat nakalagay siya sa sharps container. Okay? So, appropriate container should be used for discarding the sharps object. So, sa Philippines, meron tayo mga law regarding sa regulation on waste management. So, you have RA 6969, which is the Toxic Substances and Hazardous Nuclear Waste Control Act of 1990, the PD 856 series of 1975, the Codes of Sanitation in the Philippines, DOH series of 1993, that provides the guideline in hospital management, RA 8749, the Clean Air Act of 1999, RA 9003, Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2001, RA 9275, the Clean Water Act of 2004. This is Clean Water Act, sorry. Pakiano na lang. PD 1586, Environmental Impact Statement System Law. So, itong mga law na ito, if you want to read on this, pwede naman. I'm not asking you to read all of the law. Ito lang yung mga different laws sa Philippines that na sinusunod ng mga ospital. Okay? So, no need to read all of the law. Now, according sa DOH, this is their waste management guide. Kapag daw non-infectious dry waste, pwede mo siyang ilagay sa black na trash bin or plastic bags. Kasi meron din tayong mga color coding ng mga waste disposal. So, kapag daw dry non-infectious, pwede naman sa black. If it is the non-infectious waste, this waste, such as yung mga pagkain, diba? Those are wet material na non-infectious, sa green nilalagay. Again, if it is non-infectious dry, black. If it is non-infectious wet, it should be green. Green ang kulay ng mga plastic bag, pati rin yung trash can. Okay? If it is infectious pathologic waste, dapat sa trash can na yellow and plastic bag na yellow. And it should be double bagging to avoid leak. Okay? Again, dapat nakalagay siya sa double bag para walang mga leakage dyan, walang mga tulo. Kasi kapag nabutas yan, pwedeng mag-spill kung ano man yung infectious waste dyan. So, dapat walang ganon. Okay? Kaya double bagging is recommended for this one. Again, yellow for infectious pathologic waste. So, yung basurahan mo, kulay yellow, pati rin yung plastic bag, kulay yellow. Now, for the sharps naman, this is red. This is for the puncture-proof container. So, dito siya nilalagay sa red. And then also, you have orange for radioactive waste or lead storage containers. Again, kapag radioactive waste, hindi basta-basta basurahan yan. Dapat yung container that can actually, that is safe for lead. Okay? So, hindi siya basta-basta lang na ilalagay sa basurahan. So, ang color coding niya is color orange. Now, for the blue, those are the non-infectious recyclables, such as the plastic bags or bottles. Now, the next slide came from DENR. So, ito naman yung mga guidelines as recommended by DENR during the time of COVID-19. Kasi nga, since nagkaroon ng COVID-19, marami na mga material that can be contaminated. So, ito yung kanilang recommendation ngayon kung paano ang proper segregation. So, yellow, ganun pa rin. Kapag yellow, infectious pathological waste, ito yung kanilang example ng mga ilalagay sa yellow bag. So, use test strip. Example, yung sa mga blood glucose, diba? Kapag nag-check ng blood glucose yung mga diabetic, yan, yung kanilang mga test strip, pwede ilagay sa yellow. Use beads or pleats, reaction pads or foil, swab, gloves, cord clamp, plaster, and mask. Lahat yan sa yellow waste na. Dati kasi yung mask, pwede siyang ilagay sa black, pero ngayon, yellow na siya. Lahat ng mask dapat nakalagay sa yellow bag. And then, red, for the sharps material. Okay, so example of that is needles, syringes, scalpel blade, ampules, test tube, broken glass, and capillary tubes. So, ito yung mga nilalagay natin sa red trash bin or red bag. Now, for the yellow, again, radioactive waste. So, all of the waste that came from medical equipment contaminated or exposed to radioactivity. For the yellow with black band, yan, ito yung kanilang dinagdag, the yellow with black band. These are for pharmaceutical chemical waste. So, example of that is the empty bottles of acids, empty bottles of betadine, iodine, empty bottles of laboratory reagent, alcohol, aesthetics, etc., busted fluorescent bulb, and defective thermometer. So, these are for the pharmaceutical/chemical waste. So, dapat yellow with black bands, as you can see on the picture. Now, according to DNR, these are the do's and don'ts when it comes to collection and transport of healthcare waste. So, sabi ko nga kanina, hindi siya basta-basta tinatapon ng kung sino-sino. Meron siya ang kumukuha na licensed company. Okay, license from the government na mag-collect ng mga medical waste and to properly dispose the medical waste. So, sabi dito, waste should be collected daily or as frequently as possible and transported to the designated central storage site. Now, staff should be ensured that the waste bags are tightly closed and sealed. So, yun ang magiging role ng mga staff. Dapat tightly closed and sealed. And then, yung admin ng hospital, dapat makipag-coordinate siya sa company na nakuha ng medical waste kung tuwing kailan kukunin yung medical waste. So, a recommendation ng DNR is dapat daw daily kukunin yung mga medical waste para walang natatambak sa ospital na infectious. And then the healthcare facility collection vehicle should be cleaned and disinfected daily. Workers transporting and handling the waste should wear appropriate PPE. Dati kasi, sa mga ospital sa Philippines, walang mga PPE yung mga maintenance. 'Di ba? Ano lang, uniform lang nila, exposed talaga sila sa mga ganyang bagay. But since nagkaroon ng COVID, yun, naging strict na sila. Pati yung mga maintenance may PPE na kasi nga possible na may COVID yung mga basura sa ospital. So waste should not be allowed to accumulate at the point of production. So hindi siya pwedeng ipunin kasi nga may COVID di ba? And then do not remove bags, containers unless they are labeled with its content. And do not allow the waste to be transported off-site if the transporter is not DNR registered. Again, sabi ko nga kanina, dapat registered ng government. So, ang company na kukuha niyan, dapat meron siyang DNR accreditation or registration. Okay? So, yun ang guidelines nila. So, how about for the segregation? Do's and don'ts naman. So, segregate at source. So, kapag segregate at source, yung mismong medical staff, siya mismo yung gumagawa. Okay? Ibig sabihin yan, for example, tapos ka na sa mass, di ba? Yung mass mo, itapon mo na diretso sa yellow. Hindi mo yan iniipon sa isang lugar at saka ka na mag-segregate. Hindi ganun. Diretso tapon sa appropriate na bin. So, kapag infectious yan, dapat diretso tapon sa yellow, di ba? Kapag non-infectious na dry, dapat diretso tapon na sa black. Okay? So hindi na po pwede yung practice dati kasi sa mga ibang ospital dati, sa mga other hospitals, since nasa mahirap na bansa nga tayo, ang ginagawa nila is lahat yan nilalagay lang nila sa black bag. Kasi nga mahal. mahal yung segregation na yan eh. So, nilalagay nila sa black bag, tapos nag-segregate na lang sila kapag itatapon na. Hindi na ganun dapat. So, dapat agad-agad mo siya isa-segregate pagkatapon mo. Okay, so, kunyari, nagtagal ka ng mask, pagkatanggal mo ng mask, idiretso mo na sa yellow. Okay, pagkatapos mong gumamit ng mga swab, infectious material, ilagay mo na agad sa yellow. Okay, ganun na ngayon. That is what you call the segregate at source. Now, separate different types of healthcare waste based on their categories immediately. So, hindi na tayo nag-iipon sa black bag tapos saka siya ililipat sa kung saan saang colored bag kapag magtatapon na, hindi, di ba? So, dapat diretso siya. So, yung mga ospital ngayon, mayroon na talaga siyang mga trash bin na may mga different color coding with different color coding ng trash bag sa loob. So, ano na siya, mandate na siya ng government na dapat lahat ganun. So, place it in a color-coded plastic bag per container corresponding to their waste category. Again, yung mga plastic bag natin, black, blue, orange, yellow, green. Follow the prescribed standard requirements for different types of waste containers. Staff should never attempt to remove items waste from the bag or container or place one bag inside another bag of different color. Okay, so ito kasi ginagawa talaga dati kasi nga walang budget dati. Okay, pero ngayon lahat ng mga government hospital dapat meron na talagang designated na trash bins. So, ginawa na siyang mandate ng DNR. For infectious waste, highly infectious and other hazardous waste should, whenever possible, be treated immediately following the recommended method of DOH, Healthcare Waste Management Manual. So, example ng mga treated immediately is autoclaving. Yun ang pinaka-simple, di ba? You can either add a disinfectant, pwede kang maglagay ng Clorox dyan sa mga infectious waste na yan, or pwede mong mag-autoclave. Okay? As much as possible kasi ayaw na nating ilabas yung infectious waste sa hospital. So, yung hospital, kung kaya niyang i-treat na yan, tulad ng autoclaving, di ba? So, kapag nilabas yung mga material na ng autoclave na, wala ng bacteria, patay na yung mga microorganism. Okay? Or kung meron silang incinerator sa loob, incinerate na nila para hindi na lumabas pa sa environment. For the storage do's and don'ts, again, designate healthcare waste storage area. So, lahat ng ospital, meron talaga silang point, usually sa basement yan, nilalagay nila yung mga waste. So, yung maintenance, nagko-collect ng mga waste sa mga different areas of the hospital, tulad ng lab, mga ward, mga room ng pasyente, yan. Yung mga maintenance sila nagko-collect. And then, merong part sa ospital, usually yung basement nila, doon nila nilalagay yung mga na-collect nilang waste. Tapos, yung company na kukuha, doon na lang din pupunta para kunin yung mga waste. So, designate healthcare waste storage area. All healthcare waste should be collected and stored in a waste storage area until transported to a designated off-site treatment facility. The area should have a warning sign. Okay, so the example of that is the caution, biohazardous waste storage, unauthorized person keep out. And then keep the storage area away from patient room, laboratory, hospital function, operation room, or any common area. Kaya nga naman, usually, dun yan sa basement, sa pinakailalim ng ospital, sa basement area, para malayo siya sa mga room, sa mga work, sa mga area na nagtatrabaho yung mga tao. So the storage should be regularly maintained, secured, and accessible. And in cases where the healthcare facility lacks space, daily collection and disposal should be enforced. Kaya nga naman, yung daily disposal na yung daily collection na yan is really recommended. Kasi nga, kapag na-imbak na doon yung mga waste, syempre, it will occupy space and then tumatagal yung exposure ng mga tao sa medical waste na yun. Kaya as much as possible, dapat daw daily collection. Biodegradable general and hazardous waste should not be stored longer than 2 days. Ito yung pinaka-maximum. Diba? If the waste must be stored longer than 2 days, application of treatment like chemical disinfection is recommended. So, tulad ng chemical spray, di ba? Nag-i-spray ng Lysol sa room, pwede rin yun. Pero, again, dapat talaga daily collection ang nangyayari. So, again, that is the presentation. This is the reference from DNR. So, yung reference natin dito sa lecture, nanggaling siya sa Bishop, Clinical Chemistry, Waste Disposal, and also from Department of Health, and also from DNR.